Saying earlier he's coming back to show us how it's done.
Yeah, where you been footballing, have you? Oh, you mean showing? I show your colleagues. Big hitters, eh? Right, Rob, what have we got?
Right, let's crack on.
Here we go, football first.
Football first. Brendan, VAR. We all think we asked you about VAR again. Arsene Wenger's had a video this week that's had a lot of publicity. He wants the offside law changed so that if any part of your goal-scoring part of your body is onside, then you're onside. So if there isn't daylight, he thinks it's onside. I mean, look, I looked at the stats, and Leicester have had almost as many as anybody else goals chalked off. I think it's 3 you've had chalked off for VAR. What do you make of Wenger's view? Do you agree that this idea of daylight is a good idea?
Well, it's something to discuss. I think we're probably sat here now in more controversy and VAR and refereeing is what we've ever had. And the whole idea was to make it easier and make it simpler for the game. So probably one or two things need to happen. Yeah, they need to change the rules, or you make the technology better. For me, it all seems a little bit complicated. When I think that it can, it surely has to be more simple. I think there's a lot of decisions that this year that there was offside. I think earlier on in the season I think everyone was clear on where it was, and if you were a millimetre off or on, you were still off. So for me, I think we have to be careful we don't complicate it even more. I've tried to take the approach that you're either offside or you're not, and if you get it given against you, even no matter how close it is, you have to accept it. But there's probably going to be discussions around it between now and the end of the season and at the end of the season. But yeah, it just seems to be a little bit more complicated than what it should be.
How are your players? How's the team news? How's Wilfred and Ndidi?
All the players are fine. Wilfred, he won't be available for the weekend, so he's still in a process to try and get fit. So yeah, we'll see how he is next week.
How long do you think might he be available next weekend?
Yeah, I'm not sure. There's no timeline on it. We just have to see how he progresses. Apart from that, we're all fine. Obviously, Papis Mendy's been out and Hamza's suspended. So, but apart from that, the group are okay.
Ryan Bennett can actually feature in this matchday squad. I bet he's chomping at the bit. Does he go straight into the squad as far as you're concerned? He's available for selection?
Well, he's available for selection. I think that's great for him. He's obviously been in a few weeks now and settled in really, really well into the squad. So no, we were delighted to get Ryan. He's going to be an important player for us, even if he doesn't play. His mentality around the squad is very, very good. So we'll look at that over the next 24 hours to see if he features or not.
I think you were asked about Adam Lallana last weekend, so I don't want to labour that point. But are you pretty clear that there's going to be a lot of competition for his signature? A lot of big clubs interested in it. Yeah,
I've seen a lot of stuff and around Adam and that we've approached Liverpool and whatnot, which obviously isn't the case. So, but yeah, Adam's a wonderful player, and not only that, he's got a great attitude. When I took him into Liverpool, he was unfortunate early on with injuries, but he showed over his time there when he's fit and available that he's a fantastic player. So he's at the stage of his contract where he'll have options, I'm sure. So, but certainly what has been out there over these last few days, it's not the case.
Okay, so there hasn't been any contact with his representatives as far as you're concerned?
Yeah.
Thanks for clearing that up. Manchester City have had an interesting couple of weeks, an interesting week. Do you have some sympathy for them over how they've fallen foul of financial fair play?
Well, I suppose I look more to Pep and to the players. When you're a manager at a club, you work together and you work in with the board. So, but you're obviously clearly there to coach and manage the team. So, listen, for me, it will galvanise them as a squad. You know, these types of situations where there's questions around the club, the players will become stronger for it. They'll show that spirit. I'm pretty much sure of that, and they want to show that no matter what the issues are, that they're still very, very talented players. So yeah, it's an ongoing process, of course. But I think for Pep and his team, they'll be very determined to finish the season as strong as they can in every competition they're in.
I mean, Leicester clearly have very wealthy owners, and them alongside you are trying to push the club forward, get to that next level. Does financial fair play make that more difficult from your perspective, because you can't just go out and spend?
Well, it definitely does, and I think that is the point that I think has been said a number of times before. You know, you want to improve, you want to develop, you're in a process to do that. But there's rules of which you have to adhere to. So that's something here that the club are very much wary of, and that's why it's, you know, a club like ourselves, it'll be step by step, trying to bridge a gap which is very, very difficult to the top six. But we find different ways, and we have an infrastructure that hopefully over time can do that and sustain that. So it's always going to be tough, but we always fight and work the best that we can to try and bridge that gap. But it'll always be difficult.
Thanks, Brendan.
Hi, Brendan. Hope you're
Hi.
well. You mentioned no Wilfred Ndidi this weekend, no Hamza Choudhury, no Papi Mendy either. How big a hole is that to fill in the team ahead of this weekend?
Well, three excellent players, and obviously we have to find a strategy and a plan to come up with a game that can see us try and get the 3 points. So the three players, of course, have all featured Wilf probably more than most, but all three players give you that sort of defensive solidity which is important in any team. But they're not available, so we can't worry so much about that. We just find a plan that hopefully can allow us to get the result, and we've got some players that are available and ready to step in if needed.
I remember you telling us after the game up at the Etihad back in December that you learnt lessons from that game. What have you taken from that over the weeks afterwards?
Well, we were too passive in the game. I think that was pretty clear. We got a great start in the game, but we didn't press the game hard enough and well enough at times. Manchester, a fantastic team that force you back into a defensive shape, but you can still. They have to feel your shirt. They have to feel the aggression of the team, and that's something that we spoke about after that game. And then once you then have the ball, you have to have that ability to play quickly, and you know that you can have an opportunity that once you break the press, there's space there to play in. But now that's always easier said than done against a top level team. However, it's something that we spoke about after that game, and that's something that we'll be looking to put right in this game. They have to feel the aggression, they have to feel the pressure, and of course it has to be educated, because you can't get stretched too much, or else they have top level players that can exploit the spaces. But it's that balance between that press and aggression and being compact and tight when you haven't got it.
And is that something maybe that you have a discussion with Ben Chilwell about? I mean, in that game, Mahrez against Chilwell, I think it's fair to say Chilwell had a very difficult time that day. Is that something you'd maybe talk about specifically with him, or talk about maybe specifics?
Yeah, that's the job. It's the team. You know, it's not just Ben, it's the whole team collectively to get a result against a team like Manchester City, and you need to perform well, and you need to have all 11 players, you know, in the team. There's obviously areas of the game specifically that will speak with certain players because of their specific threats, but yeah, it has to be a collective, and that's something that we've reinforced this week. And
again, just going back to something, I remember you saying after the Aston Villa defeat in the Carabao Cup that you you wanted to see an extra determination from your players again over the coming weeks after that. Have you seen that from your players?
Yeah, I think we've seen that in the last game. You know, if you think you're down, you're playing the last 20 minutes away to a very good side that's done particularly well at home and against top teams, to play that last 20 minutes and show that determination and that resilience was very pleasing. So, but we're at a stage of the season now where that focus and mentality is so important, aligned with all your technical and tactical qualities. But yeah, the players have had a really, really good week. And they're very focused in the game, and it's second v third, and we want to produce a performance that allows us to perform well and hopefully really push to get 3 points.
Brendan, you mentioned, good afternoon, you mentioned aggression and the need for aggression against a team like Manchester City. You used the word passive at the Etihad. How difficult is it to formulate the plan you say you're going to need without an aggressive player in Hamza Choudhury and an aggressive, albeit not strong tackling player, but an aggressive in terms of his energy in Wilfred and Ndidi? You seem to have lost quite a few aggressive players.
Yeah, but I think it's in here. That's your strength and your mentality. Of course, if you have certain players within the teams that give you that, naturally that's what they do. But every player, whatever position you play, there's a need for you to deny the opponent space, and it's not just with the ball. You've got to show your quality. It's against the ball, and a team like Manchester City will certainly test that. So now, okay, you take out those players, like you say, it's their natural game. But for us and how we play and our identity, every player has to have that. That ability to get up and get in contention with people, to stop them playing, and then when they can't, they've got to then get into that resting shape, but then set the team up then to press it again well. So no matter how big or strong you are, and I think Manchester City are a great example of that. You see some of their players, you wouldn't say some of them are 6'3", 6'4", and heavily built. It's that willingness and hunger to go and get the ball, and that's what's important.
Just a bit of clarification on Wilfred Ndidi, if you wouldn't mind, and the nature of the injury. You've already mentioned that it's the same knee and maybe a reaction, but we've seen videos of him seemingly training on social, and the fact that you're not sure as to how long it's going to be. Does that concern you?
No, it's just not putting a timeline on it, and then me sat here giving you a time when it may not be that. I think it's one where it's just he's virtually weight bearing, and he's doing his work on the inside, so all of that's fine. But it's you then have to progress that to going outside, and then from that you're progressing it when he can then join the team, because then there's a different intensity to train with the team, and then of course there's another intensity to play. So we just want to make sure that he's absolutely right. He's such an important player for us, but this is his well-being as well. We want to ensure that not just the short term but the longer term for him is right, and that they can come back into the squad again and into the team, and there's no reoccurrence.
And Wes Morgan's okay? Is he available for selection? And that's all okay.
Wes is fine. Yeah.
On Manchester City and their UEFA ban pending appeal, and you've already mentioned it's pending appeal. Has that changed your mindset regarding how many Champions League spots are available? And is it easy to slip into a fifth's going to be a spot, so we now need to stay in the top 5, lads? Have you adjusted that?
No, we haven't changed, because for us it's irrelevant, really. I think if you look at the day when it was announced, I think that was the whole story around it, that 5th place is maybe up for grabs, but for us it's never been a consideration. I think for us we've always tried to finish as high as we possibly can, and not use that as a cushion, because it may not be there. So for us, we have to finish these last 12 games as strongly as we possibly can, and we target at European football. So we're in a position which the minimum we want to stay in. So the 5th place doesn't really come into it. So we haven't had to readjust, because it's never been in our conversation. Our conversation is to finish as strong as we can and as high as we can.
But you must, with 12 games to go, be targeting Champions League football by now, surely?
Well, I think, again, like I say, it's finishing as high as we possibly can. and for that we've been in the position, a lot of the season, and we want to fight to be there. Like I said, we're in the top 4. We're in a great position, but you have to earn the right. And like I say, our assessment will be at the end of the season. So, but our push is to finish as high as we can.
Does that mean you'd take 7th and a European spot?
If that's where we end up, then that's where we end up. That's where we haven't been good enough then to finish higher than that. Now, for me, I think we are better than that, but we have to show up. You have to prove it in every game that you play. So that's our focus really going into the end of the season. That would take us above where we finished last season. But I always think at the last day of the season you end up where you deserve to be. So we're hoping that we can be higher than that.
Your plan for the weekend, does Matty James maybe feature in that in terms of a midfielder? Is he ready for a midfield berth given the suspensions and injuries you've got? Could he feature in your matchday squad in the Premier League at the weekend?
Well, we'll have a look at that over the next 24 hours. He's certainly been training very, very well. His conditioning has gone great. He's really put a real focus on that. He knows it's something that's very important to how I work. You got to be at that optimum level, and he's at a very good level now. He's been training consistently now for a number of months. He's got himself physically in a really good place. Been very good in training, and he's played in some games in the under-23 team. So yeah, it's certainly something for us to consider.
How do you get Jamie Vardy more chances, Brendan? And is that something you've been focused on? Because I think he's had 5 shots in the last half dozen games. Seemingly supply to Jamie is a challenge at the moment. Have you identified that? And indeed, is that something you've been trying to work on?
Yeah, it's a bit of both, really. It's helping Jamie understand, the importance of him and his game. But then, like you say, the players around him creating those opportunities. So yeah, but I've got no doubt he's been unfortunate. When he had the injury, it took a little bit of time to come back, and which is natural. And then, like you say, there's been some opportunities, but just hasn't quite gone his way. So, but as long as Jamie works tirelessly as he always does, and he keeps making those runs and threatens him behind, then there's absolutely no doubt he'll get back on the goal trail again.
Last one from me, and it is probably the most local question I may have ever asked you, so to my national colleagues I apologise. In Leicester, we are the only county in the country that doesn't have its own flag. The county are designing a flag, as well as a listeners to BBC Radio Leicester, and asking our audience what should be in it. The only county that doesn't have its own flag, that represents the county in which the people are housed. If you were to design a flag, what should be in part of a flag of Leicestershire, Brendan?
You would naturally say a fox. You would say Old John would probably have to be on there somewhere. I don't know. Is there a BBC Radio? Do they have a
fox and Old John is probably.
Is that not what you're looking for?
That I think that's quite fair.
Yeah.
And excellent local knowledge from you. Well
Absolutely.
done.
Thank you.
The best of luck on Saturday.
Cheers. Thank you. Thanks. He's not that old. Old John. Right, so you get the very beautiful area of Charnwood, which is a pocket outside of Leicester City. So towards the north of, and it's a feature out at Bradgate Park. So Bradgate's one of the big institutions of Leicestershire, and they have this great monument at the top of it called Old John. So it's a lot of reference. People come in from all around the. Yeah, they come all around the country. It's okay. I've been less than a year as well.
Yeah, very impressed.
Yeah. Thank you. Sorry.
It's okay. I've got afternoon. I've got a slightly odd one, but not as odd as that. But slightly odd in that I'm going to ask you about a player who's not available the weekend, which is Hamza, just because I'm getting the chance to have a chat to him tomorrow. So it's a really open question.
Yes, no worries.
Just to sort of, what for you are his qualities on the field, and what qualities have you noticed off the field in him as a person, as a player? Hamza Choudhury.
Well, firstly, off the field, he's a good boy. You know, he's come through the system here, had his ups and downs with it, been out on loan, and but he's a really, really good boy who wants to do the very best as he can as a player. And like all young players, they make mistakes, but he's one that he doesn't try and hide away from it. He recognises that, and like I say, he's got a lovely personality. You know, real, genuine young guy. On the pitch, you see what he is. He's a player that is happy to do all the dirty work for his team. He's aggressive in his tackling, which he needs to be. That's his job. He covers the ground very quickly. He's getting better in reading the game and reading the tactical idea of the game, and also he's getting better with the use of the ball. You know, I think that sometimes when you're so good defensively at times, when you grow up as a young player, sometimes that's all that gets focused on. But at the top level of the game, you need to be good in both. You know, you need to be able to take the ball, pass the ball, and he's certainly getting better and better that every single day in training and in the games. So yeah, he's a fantastic young player who's fitted really well into the squad. Obviously, Wilf has played a lot of the games, but when he's been asked to play, he's done very, very well. And in his last game, I thought he was very, very unfortunate to have got sent off.
Lovely, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Well done.
Paul.